So I got this back in the Navy.
No way. That's incredible.
Let me see.
The dim lights of the VFW hall flickered like distant stars, casting long shadows over tables scarred by decades of spilled beers and forgotten toasts. Smoke hung in the air, thick with the scent of cheap whiskey and old regrets. In the corner, hunched over a half-empty glass, sat an old man, wrinkled skin like weathered leather, hair thin and white as sea foam. His shirt sleeve had ridden up, revealing a tattoo on his forearm. Faded ink, barely legible now. A eagle clutching an anchor, the lines blurred by time and tide. He didn't notice the eyes on him. Not yet. Across the room, a pack of young Marines, fresh-faced, cocky, their uniforms crisp and untested, burst through the door like a storm front. Laughter boomed, echoing off the walls lined with yellowed photos of boys turned men, men turned ghosts. They were the new guard, home on leave, chests puffed with stories of drills and dreams. One of them, a broad-shouldered kid named Ramirez with a buzz cut and a smirk that could cut glass, spotted the old man first. "Yo, check this out," he called to his buddies, voice slicing through the murmur. "Grandpa's got some ancient war ink. Looks like it was done with a potato and spit." The group swarmed closer, circling like wolves scenting weakness. Another, Jenkins, lean and loud, leaned in too close, his breath hot with beer. "What is that supposed to be? Eagle? Anchor? Nah, man, that's a seagull that got lost in a shipwreck." Snickers rippled out, sharp as shrapnel. The old man didn't flinch. His fingers tightened around the glass, knuckles white as bone, but his eyes stayed fixed on the amber liquid, swirling it like memories in a bottle. "Come on, Pops," Ramirez pressed, slapping the table hard enough to rattle the ashtrays. "Spill it. You get that in Nam? Or was it just some bar bet gone wrong? Bet you never even saw a real foxhole." The jeers grew bolder, a chorus of cruelty masked as camaraderie. "Fake as a $3 bill," Jenkins hooted. "Hey, barkeep! This guy's cosplaying as a vet. Give him a juice box." The room shifted uneasily. A few older-timers glanced over, their faces hardening, but no one spoke up. Not yet. The old man's shoulders sagged a fraction more, the weight of their words pressing down like the crush of ocean depths. He was just a relic to them, a punchline in a faded shirt, unworthy of the sacred ground he sat on. Humiliation burned in his chest, hot and familiar, the kind that had followed him home from wars no one wanted to remember. Why fight it? The ink was gone, the glory dust. Let them laugh. Let it end. But then the door creaked open again, and the air in the hall thickened, charged like the moments before a squall. In strode Colonel Harlan Graves, a legend carved from granite. Tall, ramrod straight, his dress blues starched to perfection, chest ablaze with ribbons that told tales of hellfire and heroism. The room snapped to attention, chairs scraping, voices dying like embers under rain. Even the young Marines straightened, their bravado wilting under his gaze, steel-blue eyes that had stared down tyrants and tempests. Graves wasn't here for the drinks. He'd come to pay respects, to toast the ghosts who paved his path. But as he scanned the crowd, his stride faltered, just for a heartbeat. His eyes locked on the old man in the corner, on that blurred tattoo peeking from the sleeve. The colonel moved like a shadow detaching from the wall, weaving through the frozen crowd with purposeful grace. The Marines exchanged glances, nervous now, their laughter a ghost in their throats. Ramirez shifted, whispering, "What's his deal?" Probably just some washed-up CO. But Graves didn't stop at their table. He beelined for the old man, boots clicking a rhythm that silenced the last murmurs. He loomed there, a tower of authority, and for a long, agonizing second, the hall held its breath. The old man's hand trembled on his glass, but he didn't look up. Not until Graves knelt. Beside him, one knee to the worn linoleum, and gently rolled back the sleeve himself. Fingers traced the faded lines, reverent as a prayer. The colonel's face drained of color, jaw clenching like a vice. Whispers rippled. "What? Why him?" Graves leaned in closer, his voice a gravelly hush that cut deeper than any shout. "Ghost Rider," he breathed, the call sign slipping out like a sacred oath, heavy with awe and ache. The old man's eyes finally lifted, meeting the colonel's, storm gray to steel blue, and in that gaze, the years collapsed. Flashback thunder. Guadalcanal, 1942. Jungle thick as tar, Japs closing in under moonless skies. The old man, then just Ensign Jack Harlan, barely 20, call sign Ghost Rider for the way he'd slipped through enemy lines like a specter, leading a ragtag squad through hell's own gauntlet. Bullets whined like banshees, grenades blooming fire in the muck. His men dropping one by one, screams swallowed by the roar. But Ghost Rider didn't break. He dragged them out, 5 brothers in arms, bleeding and broken, over his shoulder, through razor wire and rice paddies, whispering promises to the night. "Hold on, I've got you." That night, he earned the Navy Cross, the one pinned silent on his chest, when the brass wanted parades, but he wanted peace. But the ink? That was for the ghosts he couldn't save. The ink mixed with their blood, etched in a manila dive by a tattooist who understood loss. Faded now, like the man himself, retired to a quiet life of odd jobs and empty dawns, the heroics buried under layers of just get by. No parades, no pensions fat enough to fight the bottle. Just echoes. Back in the hall, the colonel's whisper hung like smoke. "Ghost Rider, Jack Harlan. Sir, it's you." The name landed like a depth charge. Ramirez's mouth gaped, beer forgotten. Jenkins staggered back a step, face ashen. The old man, Jack, swallowed hard, voice a rasp honed by salt water and silence. "That was a lifetime ago, Colonel. Just ink now." But Graves shook his head, eyes glistening under the lights. Tears from a man who'd seen oceans of them and never shed one. "No, sir. That ink saved my life. I was that kid you pulled from the surf off Tarawa, 43. You whispered my call sign, Eagle's Shadow, when I thought I'd drown in my own blood. You carried me 2 miles to the Courseman. If not for Ghost Rider," his voice cracked, the unbreakable, breaking. The room exploded, not with jeers, but with a thunder of chairs shoving back, hands clapping slow at first, then roaring like artillery. Veterans surged forward, faces alight with recognition. One grizzled sergeant bellowing, "Ghost Rider! Hell, I owe you a beer for Inchon." The young Marines stood rooted, shame-carving lines in their faces deeper than any tattoo. Ramirez stepped up first, voice thick, eyes down. "Sir, we didn't know." "God, we're sorry." We were idiots." Jack waved it off, but Graves wouldn't let it stand. He rose, turning to the pack with a glare that could sink ships. "You see this, man? This is what Marine means. Not the shine on your boots, but the steel in your soul when the world's on fire. Mock him again, and you're mocking every brother who bled beside him." Dismissed. Apologies tumbled out like spent casings, hands extended in salute, not mockery. The hall transformed, a cathedral of respect. Toasts raised high. "To Ghost Rider! Semper Fi!" Jack stood then, slower than the sea rising, but steady. For the first time in decades, the weight lifted, the ink alive again under admiring eyes. He clasped Graves's hand, the colonel's grip ironclad. "Eagle's Shadow," Jack murmured back. "You flew true. Made me proud." As the night wore on, stories spilled like wine, tales of Ghost Riders daring. The man who'd turned tides with nothing but grit and a prayer. The young ones listened, rapt, their arrogance drowned in the flood of truth. And in that smoky hall, under banners frayed as old flags, a lesson etched deeper than any needle. Valor doesn't shout from podiums or gleam in medals. It whispers from faded skin, endures in quiet corners, waiting for the world to catch up. It reminds us that heroes don't fade. They haunt us, guide us, pull us from the surf when we can't swim alone. Because in the end, the greatest battles aren't won with guns or glory, but with the unyielding heart that carries the fallen home. And tonight, Ghost Rider rode again, not into the storm, but into the light he never sought, but damn well deserved. Semper Fi, old-timer, the ink may fade, but the legend, it burns eternal